So how many of you have heard of the Essex Motor Company? Now honestly, if you don't know the company, don't feel bad. The car wasn't around for a very long time, even though it left a lasting impression on the automobile industry. Now Essex Motor Company was founded in 1918 and was considered a small yet affordably priced car. Now you know today how the SUV is pretty much one of the most popular vehicles on the road? Well, back then, the most popular vehicle on the road was known as a touring sedan. These cars at the time were easy to get a hold of and relatively cheap to manufacture. But much in the same way that the SUV kinda killed the station wagon, the Essex would come on the scene and be the first domino to knock over the touring sedan. The Essex got popularized because it was a fully enclosed vehicle. And obviously, most sections of the Earth suffer from one thing that makes the touring sedan a little bit of a problem. And that is weather. Which the 1.13 million Essex owners didn't necessarily have to worry about as much, which became quite appealing to those in more frigid and wet weather. Now don't get me wrong, there were plenty of vehicles that were around in 1919 that were fully enclosed, but those vehicles were much more expensive to produce and thus were not as readily accessible to those of lesser means. Which meant that the lower classes finally had the opportunity to get a fully enclosed vehicle for a reasonable price. And their poor ass was not looking back. Which basically meant that the touring sedans were starting to lose followers by the day. When the Essex was released in 1919, the car was incredibly popular, so much so that the Essex Motor Company couldn't necessarily keep up with production and needed a solution quickly. That solution came when Essex leased floor time at Studebaker's Detroit, Michigan facility. But success came with a price. By 1922, Essex Motor Company became the property of Hudson. Hudson kept the line going, and Essex continued to make cars until about 1932. And at some point in 1932, Hudson pulled the plug on the Essex name and switched it to Terraplane. With the Terraplane name in place, by 1933, Hudson completely dissolved the Essex Motor Company, and Essex became a product of Hudson.